Right, let's take our first question now for you, Nigel Farage, from Helen Dooley.
Do you think, by fielding your own candidates in the general election, there is every chance you could end up destroying the one thing that you set out to achieve, Brexit?
No, absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. The Brexit Party, and UKIP was rather similar before it, the Brexit Party in East Anglia, in the south of England, the southwest of England, the fringes of London, takes more votes from the Conservatives than it takes from Labour by a long, long way. But as soon as you get to the Midlands, go up to the north, or perhaps to the valleys of South Wales, the picture is the other way round. Look at Peterborough. 2015, in this city, UKIP got a big vote. The Conservative won. He was a Eurosceptic Conservative, Stuart Jackson. In 2017, UKIP said, we won't stand against Stuart Jackson, we don't want to split the vote. And guess what? A large number of voters who'd voted UKIP went back to the Labour Party, and Labour won the seat, not the Conservatives. And this is because there are 5 million Labour Leave voters out there in this country, and many of them wouldn't vote Conservative if you paid them. That's for historical reasons and cultural reasons. So no, I've stood candidates down against the Conservative Party. Not an easy thing to do, not wholly popular in my own party thing to do. I did it because Boris went much further than that deal in Brussels. He said, we will not have alignment with EU rules. We'll go for a Canada-style trade deal. Now, a promise is one thing, and Boris is very good at making promises.
Do you trust that promise?
Well, look, Boris is good at making promises and not always keeping them, but it would have been madness, I think, to stand against the government of the day if they're effectively saying the same thing that you are. So what we will now do is target Labour seats. We need to get a Brexit Party voice in the House of Commons to hold him to those promises. And in other seats, where the Conservatives are the challengers to Labour, actually, the Labour vote we get in those constituencies will, in fact, in many ways, make it easier for Boris Johnson. David Cameron would not have had a majority in 2015 if it hadn't been for the impact of the Brexit 4 million votes. And when you hear national pollsters who say, will the Brexit Party take 10 Conservative votes for every 6 Labour votes, that may be the national picture, but the regional differences and the seat differences are enormous. So no, I'm convinced this is the right strategy. I want Brexit to happen. I think it's vital for our democracy that that referendum result is upheld. But by attacking Labour, not only will we get Brexit, but I hope we're going to get the right Brexit.
Yes, the man there, yes.
How can you say that you're standing up for democracy when you yourself are an unelected leader in probably the most undemocratic party in the UK who is refusing to stand in constituency yourself?
We're a tech start-up. We're a tech start-up. I mean, there is no parallel. There is no parallel to the Brexit Party. I never wanted to be a career politician, ever, ever. When the referendum was successful in 2016, everybody acknowledged it was because of the strength of UKIP that Cameron made that promise that in the end he had to conduct. When everyone said, after the referendum, we're going to honour the result and deliver Brexit, I was happy. I stepped back away from politics.
But Nigel Farage,
I came back into this in the spring of this year because it looked like Brexit was gone, lost in the weeds, a second referendum was coming down the track. So I set up the Brexit Party in the space of a few weeks. I launched it. We won a national election within 6 weeks of launching. And I did that, hands up, in an autocratic way. There wasn't time to build a democratic party. That is how we did it. I've got no regrets about that at all. As the Brexit Party develops over time, it will democratise. But we were a start-up in 2019. And I would argue we've had a very dramatic effect on politics already.
But you say you didn't want to be a career politician.
No.
You tried 7 times to be a politician.
Once in reality.
You also said, just coming back to the question here,
Fiona,
you said,
I
no,
stood...
let me finish. You said in 2015, it's frankly just not credible for me to continue to lead the party without a Westminster seat of my own.
And it was
so if that was the case in 2015, why is that not the case now?
I regret that bitterly. I was hunkered down in one constituency. I didn't have the chance to go around the country. I wasn't doing the same thing again. And I would say this to you. I've only once challenged for Parliament seriously. All the previous times would have put a message out. A message being that we should be free of the European Union. And I used elections to do it. And all right, it might have taken over 20 years, but it worked.
The man there in the sweater.
You said you formed a political party quickly. How do you manage to do that? Who's funding you? Aaron Banks, Robert Mercer, anybody?
No. Honestly, can we stop? I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the Russians, you know. I mean, this endless conspiracy theory that we get. We are regulated as every UK party is regulated. Mr Mercer is an American, so therefore we couldn't take his money. Aaron Banks hasn't given a single penny to the Brexit Party, and you know full well that we managed, when we launched back in the spring, £3 million came in online in £25 donations. That's been done before in America. Obama, in many ways, you know, set the pace for that, and we did it. That was real citizen engagement in democracy, something I think we should be encouraging in this country, rather than parties being funded by big donors or indeed the trade union movement.
There's quite a few hands up. I just want to take a selection of people there. Yes, the man with the glasses.
You said you wanted a voice in Parliament. Wouldn't your voice be the best voice in Parliament for the Brexit Party?
Well, we've got plenty of other very good people.
Nigel, just let me take a few people and then you can come back to the man at the back.
Mr Farage, in today's paper, we are losing motor industry work in the country because of the uncertainty that Brexit has created. Do you not view your past 20 years as the biggest foreign policy disaster this country's faced since 1939?
No, I view it. I want us to have an independent foreign policy. I want us to make up our own minds on foreign policy. I want us to buttress that with our support for NATO and the Five Eyes intelligence sharing community. I don't want to be part of a European foreign policy. I don't want to be part of a European army. I think we should be independent and make our own decisions. Now, as for the car industry, let me tell you something. If we go headlong for electric cars, there will be huge job losses in the car industry and indeed in the components industry, because all you're looking at effectively is a body and a battery. Industries change and move over time. Back to the previous question the gentleman there asked. Look, you know, I could have spent my time focusing on one seat, but I would not have been able, because, as I said, we're a start-up. This is not Islington and Jeremy Corbyn, who only has to turn up there once and he's going to win. I took the view I'd be better off touring the length and breadth of the country, supporting our candidates, and I'll be doing that for the next 3.5 weeks.
The woman in the grey sweater.
Hi there, Nigel.
Hello.
For someone who now stands so strongly against the EU, and a moment ago you spoke about democracy, now the salary you earned from the EU, which very much suited you at the time, what percentage of that salary, which you're now actually noted on paper, I think it's 5 million since 1999, so what percentage of that salary, for something you stand so strongly on, are you willing to give back to the British public and create a democracy, not this tech startup?
Hang on a second.
You're actually saying your party is a tech startup.
Hang on a second.
And we're literally about to vote on probably one of the most important elections we are going to see. I think, as a person, it's patronising that I'm actually sat here and you're telling me that your political party is a tech startup.
Yeah, great, isn't it? Innovation.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Not innovation.
I tell you what.
It's really appalling.
I tell you what, we're a tech startup.
It's really appalling,
We're
and
a
I
tech
think
startup.
it's very patronising to the British public to call your political party a startup.
We found it was a complete startup.
Anyway,
and do you know why?
What percentage of your salary was
do you want to
so
stand
well
here and I'll
suited
sit there?
to
I mean, I don't mind, you know.
I don't know, mate. I might be able to do a better job than
Well, you
create
may
racism
well.
and
You've certainly got self-confidence, I'll give you that.
Thank you.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, I'm a public person who's interested
I
in
believe...
politics.
Let him answer the question now.
No, she's going to take over. In fact, you take Fiona's job. I mean, it's fine. Now, look, here's the point. We founded this with a slogan, change politics for good. And frankly, I think our politics has become utterly corrupted. I think we have a voting system that is not fit for purpose, a postal voting system open to fraud, abuse, intimidation, a House of Lords that frankly should not be there in the 21st century, and many, many radical changes we need to make in this country to restore trust between voters and those that they elect. As far as the European Parliament's concerned, look, I gave up a career in business. I closed down a company to go and do this. I didn't better myself doing it. I was actually far worse off doing it. And I'd point this out to you. If you look at the expenses that British MEPs claim, I claim lower, fewer expenses than any other British MEP. I did not do this. I did not do this. I did not do this to advance my career financially. I made a sacrifice to do it because I believe we should be a free country, and I believe that today more strongly than ever before.
Let's take a question. Another question from Kim Black.
Beyond Brexit, what do the Brexit Party stand for?
OK, fine. Firstly, losers consent. You may lose an election and not like it, but you accept it, because that's how democracy works. What has happened since 2016 is two of our major political parties, many former prime ministers, refuse to accept the result of the greatest democratic exercise in the history of our nation. That, I think, is a complete and utter disgrace in a country that calls itself a democracy. I really do.
And we now come to the question asked by Kim Black.
Yeah. Now, Brexit is the great political issue of our times, the defining issue of our times. What it's exposed is that politics is broken.
No, the question is, what do the Brexit Party stand for beyond Brexit?
Abolition of the House of Lords. A change of the voting system to make it proportional, whereby we don't have a binary choice between two minority parties. Well, what a farce that is. A politics where you say, look, you don't think we're very good, look at the other bloke, he's even worse. A politics where we stand up for what we believe in and people vote accordingly. I would scrap the current postal voting register and go back to postal votes being for those that are elderly, infirm or working abroad. I want us to have the right of a citizen's initiative. If enough of us aren't happy with where Westminster is going, we can call a referendum. And we're also going to have to face up to something. Tony Blair set up a Supreme Court. It is a political court. It is now acting on its own, making up its own precedent as it goes. We are going to have a written constitution so that we all know where we stand. So radical political reform is the first thing that we stand for. And the second thing is, what about the 5.5 million men and women in this country running their own businesses, acting as sole traders, being taxed, regulated and not free to go out and make profits? I want to stand up for the little people. It's about time somebody did.
You say the Supreme Court needs a written constitution. The Brexit Party doesn't have a written manifesto, so how can the people here just let me finish. How can the people here know what you stand for when you look at your website? There's whole areas where there are no policies at all. Are they just supposed to guess?
The word manifesto, let's do a word association test. What does manifesto mean? Lie. It means a lie. We all know at the last sets of elections, parties issue manifestos because they're telling people what they think they want to hear without the slightest intention of ever delivering them. I'll be launching this week, on Friday, I'll be launching a contract with the British people where we will lay out in health, law and order, education and all those areas where we stand. Don't worry.